I'm a woman and I'm proud to be a woman, but I actually think of myself more as a global citizen, a person that's on this planet for a certain amount of time, really passionate about making a difference, certainly empowering women, giving young girls access to education in countries where education is not a foregone conclusion for girls. I am a mom of twin girls, a proud mom. I have 2 stepsons and actually 1 grandson. So my first and most important identity is actually with my family. And I am also the Vice President of Global Marketing Solutions for Facebook. I have been for 7 years. I grew up in a town called Setauket, Long Island, and have spent most of my time on the East Coast, lived in London for a little bit for work, and travel almost every single week for Facebook. Well, it's interesting because when I was younger, I didn't think of myself necessarily as a girl or a woman, and I barely talked about being a woman. But I think now that I've been in the workforce for over 22 years, I've started to realize that it's probably very important for me to own that identity of being a woman in the workforce in a technology industry, because there is still so much inequality around women being given opportunities, particularly at senior levels. And I found that I was perhaps giving younger women a disservice by not being more vocal. When you look at the gender inequality issues, everything from equal pay, which is not in fact happening across the United States. If you look at the number of CEOs and the fact that there are more men named James or John than there are even female CEOs, when you just look at the raw data and realize that despite so many positive efforts, we've actually made very, very little progress in terms of female leaders, whether it be in business or in government or in nonprofit. You start to realize, like, okay, I have a voice and I have a platform. I have a senior position at Facebook, and I have an opportunity to potentially really make a difference. I travel extensively for Facebook, and I get to go to a lot of different countries. It's one of the greatest opportunities for me at Facebook, and I typically will host women-only events in those countries. I'll have sessions. Sometimes it might be 10 women around a table for lunch, and they may never have been brought together because they may not have the networking infrastructure that we do in the US. So I find that women crave that opportunity to be brought together. They crave the opportunity to have dialogue and be able to ask questions. And the truth of the matter is, I don't have it figured out. I can't offer a formula, here's how you have a successful career and be a mom and do all of these other things. But what I can do is share what I've learned, my experiences, and then frankly, I learn so much from the women I meet. I obviously work with Sheryl Sandberg, who has been an incredible role model, and I would argue has done more for the feminist movement than certainly anybody has over the last few decades. I actually don't talk about being a feminist, and yet I care deeply about women having equal opportunity. But I want to do it in the context of general opportunity and equality around people. I think there are a few areas that we really need to be focused on. Equal pay should just be it should be table stakes. There should be no debate about that. Women and men should be paid equally for the jobs that they do, period, end of story. I think companies should be held accountable. I think they need to be releasing data as to whether or not they're doing that, and if they're not, they need to make the adjustments appropriately. So equal pay is in one bucket. The second is much stronger parental leave for both maternity and paternity. And I really believe they should, if they can't be equal, they should at least be quite generous and have both policies. And then leadership needs to actually model the behavior, and men need to take paternity leave so that women are not the only ones, taking time off to raise a family. And I think the third area is around sexual harassment. And there should be a zero tolerance for it. I think the movements of Me Too and Time's Up shows that we have so far to go in that, and we really need to be supporting women that are having these issues in the workplace. At the same time, I also want to be very sensitive that we don't paint a paintbrush that all men are bad, because that is just simply the farthest thing from the truth. There are so many fabulous, great men that I've had the privilege of working with, that I currently work with. Let's not make broad sweeping generalizations that pit women against men, because that's not going to get us anywhere. I have a very active woman who's my coach, Lisa McCarthy, and she and I have been scaling our program around vision writing and empowering women and giving women real tools to be successful. And we've rolled that out to hundreds of women now across the globe, and we're continuing to expand it this year. I've always said someday if I have a tombstone, it'll never say that I worked at Facebook or any of my other companies. It will never say what my work accomplishments were, but it will hopefully say something about the type of mother I was, or spouse, daughter, sibling. And so those familial roles to me are the most important roles. Raising twin girls in this world is, I think, the most awesome responsibility that anyone could possibly have. And I've tried to raise them to have the opportunities that they're as big as possible in their minds. I am incredibly optimistic. I love to dream big. I want my daughters, I want everyone around me, my team, to dream big and then dream even bigger. And it reminds me of the Nelson Mandela quote, "It always seems impossible until it's done."